Hello and welcome to today's episode of Platinum Talks Wealth. Emmy-nominated journalist Jennifer Rogers Markwell changed gears in her television career when she realized the need to help women make sense of investing. She regularly hosts educational workshops to empower women and others to take charge of their financial future. Now, join your host, Platinum Wealth Management President Jennifer Rogers Markwell, as she leads us into the world of money memories, money infidelities, and how these can mold our relationship with our personal finances as adults. Let's dive into today's episode.
This is Jennifer Rogers Markwell with the Platinum Talks Wealth podcast. Today we're joined by Blake Hutchison. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for making time. So tell us all about you and why you do what you do.
Yeah, so look, I've got a really interesting background having worked across so many different businesses. Most people seem to focus their entire careers around a particular business model or industry. If you're a nurse, you're often a lifetime nurse. If you're a lawyer, you're a lifetime lawyer. I've worked in every type of business, from publishing to e-commerce to SaaS. I had my own marketplace business, and of course, I'm now the CEO of Flippa.com. So that is what makes me. I've got this very diverse understanding of how businesses work across different types, and of course, I've now got this really, I guess, humbling experience of working with business owners from all over the world who use our platform today.
So tell us more about your platform.
So Flippa is a marketplace to buy and sell online businesses. So if you want to put that in simple terms, do you have a friend who owns an e-commerce business? Do you have a friend who's got a blog? Well, that friend is sitting on a small business. We believe that small business has value, and there is a network and ecosystem of buyers from all over the world who also agree that asset has value. And so as a marketplace, we make it easy for people to exit, i.e. sell their business, sell their blog, sell their e-commerce store, sell their app, sell whatever it is, so long as it's digital. And on the flip side, buyers will buy those because they want to supplement their income. And so they might go to work 9 to 5, but they buy an asset to supplement their income. Or they might acquire something as their next job. So quit their 9 to 5 and take on this new asset as their core income source. It's full of small business owners, entrepreneurs, buyers, and investors who are essentially trading assets.
Fascinating. Now, you said you had quite the background of different jobs in different, industries across the board. What brought you here?
Yeah, it's a really interesting story, actually. So two things. One, I sold my own business. So I was a customer of the platform. And that gives you a unique perspective. It gives you a unique perspective in the sense that you understand how the platform works, but you also empathize with the end customer. And that's one thing that I really pride myself on, which is empathizing with what the customer is trying to achieve, and then helping our teams around the world understand that. And that, gave me unique insight into how many buyers there were around the world who would actually find digital assets and online businesses interesting and ultimately showed interest in my business. And so that gave me that unique perspective in the platform. The second pathway to me getting here kind of relates to my, long-term proven ability to work with founders. And so founders are unique beasts in their own right. And so often a bit eccentric, clearly ambitious, create big solutions to even bigger problems. And so I've worked for founders throughout my career. And so as a result of having grown other founder businesses or founder-led and owned businesses, I was tapped on the shoulder by these founders to do the same for them. So combination of knowing the customer experience and knowing what it takes to work with a founder got me to where I am today.
Oh, thanks for sharing. So obviously this podcast, we do talk about money and money memories, which I'm sure you've had quite a few along the way in just your journey. What would you say would be your first financial memory that molded your relationship to, finances and money as an adult?
Okay. So my mum and dad used to say, well, yeah, but buy it with your own money. And I would say, well, I don't have any. And they'd say, well, get a job. And so from my earliest memory was simply, I need to get a job to buy what I want to buy. And that led me to a paper round. So, you ride your bike and you throw the papers at people's houses and you get very little, very little amount of money for that work. And it was quite a funny memory because it was actually a really challenging paper round because it was so hilly in my area. So I'd ride down at about 5 a.m. And I'd go to the local news agency and I'd pick up my box, fill the basket on top of my bike with all of the newspapers. And I wonder whether paper rounds are even around these days. I must admit, I should know the answer to that. Probably not. Anyway, so then I'd ride for an hour and a half up and down the hills, and I was living in regional Victoria, so about an hour and a half out of the city. So it was quite hilly, and there was quite a distance between each house. And then I'd finally get back to the news agency after an hour and a half of riding, and I'd get, I think it was like $5. It wasn't a lot of money, but it felt like a lot at the time because all of a sudden you had cash flow and you had some bargaining power. You could go and buy whatever you wanted with that money. So that's my earliest money memory. And it was a funny story because mum and dad were very proud of me for wanting to go and get my first job at 11 years old. The problem was dad ended up saying, "You're too tired for school," because I'd been riding for an hour and a half every day. And they, mum and dad suggested that I quit my paper round and get back to being a better school student.
Oh, I have that in common with you. I had a paper route too.
Yeah. Did you?
It was hard work back in the day.
I don't think I've ever been fitter. I probably had some good calf muscles.
Hey, it's Jennifer. I wanted to take a quick break to remind you that you are worthy to have a seat at the table when it comes to money and your finances. We, both me and my team at Platinum Wealth Management, want to meet you where you are, whether you're starting out, starting over, or have been investing for years. Reach out to us at platinumwealth.net or call us at 775-717-0001. We'd be honored to help.
Ties right into kind of the concept of financial infidelities, right? Along the way, were there some that you either experienced or that you witnessed from others that you're willing to share that you think folks could learn from?
Look, I think my only financial infidelity is my own. And I think that relates to coming from a spirit of generosity, but it can sometimes go the wrong way. So I have a habit of, I had a habit of shouting the bar. So as a younger gentleman, I used to think it was the right thing to do to basically figure out anyone and everyone who wanted to have a drink in the bar and make sure that they were having a good time too. And that's because probably I was having such a good time. But you'd wake up in the morning and you'd count the cost of that pretty quickly. So I'm not sure how big a financial infidelity that is, but it's the one memory I have of being a little irresponsible with my money.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone has some overlap like that, where they've done something that they're like, oof, was that the best call? But was it fun in the moment, I guess, right?
It was.
Well, before we wrap up our conversation, I always like to ask, what are tips or tricks that you use to utilize money in your own household?
Yeah. So the first thing that we do is focus on good food. And so we tend to not be frugal around food because we think it's one of those, one, you can share it with each other. So there's a sense of community in being able to do that. And two, good food just tastes better. So we tend to be less frugal around that, but we're very frugal around the clothes we wear, right? So we don't orientate to particular labels. I don't really care so long as I've got a clean black t-shirt on as to, what it looks like or how much I've paid for it. And so one thing that I've always found really interesting is flash sales, right? You can save so much on new season's gear by just orientating your wardrobe to flash sales and buying discounted clothing. So we certainly do that a lot. And then the other thing we do is we audit our subscriptions every quarter, right? So it's one thing to say, well, I've got Netflix and Disney and Prime and all of those types of things, and then everything else you've subscribed to. But you very rarely need all of those things. And so we audit those every quarter. We go through them and we say, do we use this one? Do we not use that one? Which one can we cut? And we end up finding that we can cut 3 to 5 subscriptions every time we go and do it.
That's a really good call, because how many times do you have things that you're paying for monthly that you're like, oh my gosh, totally forgot I even had that. Like that is a common conversation for sure.
Yeah. And you can also use it in your own business, right? So if you've got
Yes.
any business owners listening on the line, we've just gone through an audit of all of our SaaS tools, right? And SaaS will typically be subscription based. And so, you find that the company has all of this great tooling that one or two people will use in the business. But when you go and look at it and you analyze it, there's actually only a few tools which you could categorically say are having a positive financial impact on your business. And if they're not having a positive financial impact on your business, then you should feel free to cut them. And so tools are so good at selling their benefits. And so you get wowed by their marketing speak. Oh, we will help you better understand your customer life cycle. We will better help you understand which channels of your marketing should be attributed to which customers, these types of things, right? So you subscribe to all these different tools. When you go back and audit and you're ruthless around which tools actually work for your business and which don't, there's actually very few that have a really positive impact. And so we've just gone through the exercise of auditing that tooling, and it's worked out to be a very, very substantial cost saver.
Yeah, no, I think that makes good sense, right? But not only auditing on the business side, but the personal side for both, quite frankly.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, how many times have you bought something and then recognized that whatever it was you bought, you probably didn't actually need and or didn't necessarily fill the purpose as much as you might have thought it would? And so, you know what my favorite one of that is? The Robo vacuum cleaner. I bought the Robo vacuum cleaner and I thought, how good is this? I'll never have to vacuum again. The Robo vacuum cleaner will solve all my problems. The Robo vacuum cleaner, I think, has sat there for about 3 months not used because it just never quite had the sucking power that a good Dyson vacuum cleaner does. And all of a sudden, you've got this little asset sitting there in the corner that you don't utilize. So yeah, that's probably my one.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, and thanks for making time to chat with us today.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate the time.
And thanks for everyone who's listening, and hopefully you'll join us on our next Platinum Talks Wealth podcast.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, Platinum Talks Wealth, please subscribe and share. For more information about Jennifer Rogers Markwell or Platinum Wealth Management, please visit www.platinumwealth.net. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member of FINRA and SIPC. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. The guest speakers and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Platinum Wealth Management.